Good afternoon. Uh, Good afternoon. Am I audible? So, good afternoon. Am I audible to you? Am I audible? Yes. Good afternoon. Okay, but voice is very low. But now it's fine. Is that fine now? Is that fine now, Aman? I think I just increase my voice there. Okay, fine. Okay, thank you for those reply. So actually, in our so I directly share my screen. So we'll move on to today's objective. Okay, we already been start with an objective that is streams in Java, which is nothing but Java IO, Java input and output. So the Java input and output. So we already been discussed about this objective in previous class, that is introduction to the streams, and in that stream a file Java file output stream class. Okay, so this is we discussed in our previous session. So I think I given homework also, but the homework due date has been end, but till I just get only very less than numbers. The submission is very less, so please do the homework. And even the date has been end. I think due date has been end. So I will be give along with this. Okay, so please be complete. Those who are not completed because the numbers is very less. Okay, so please do that. And here for the today's objective, we are going to discuss about a Java file input stream class, followed by a Java byte array output stream and Java byte array input stream. Okay, so in this, so before going to this, you all be clear with what is an input stream and what is an output stream, and what is an file input stream and file output stream. So I think so. This I want to ask is Abhijay. Abhijay, you are here. Abhijay, Abhijay Singh, you are here. Is Chandan. Chandan, you are here. I think those. Yes, Abhijay. Can you discuss about what is an input stream and what is an output stream? Yes, Abhijay, can you able to answer for that? Because as we discussed these things in our previous session. Yes, Abhijay. Yes, I think you are given reply yes. Then what happened? Okay. Okay. So we'll move on to today's discussion. So I think so. I just gone through one more time. What is the stream? What is an input stream and what is an output stream? Then I move on to today's discussion. Okay, so initially you might have know about What is a stream? A stream is nothing but a flow of data. So the flow of data, which means which is classified into two basic type. One is input stream and the other one is an output stream. Okay, the input stream is nothing but from the source. So the source is any of this, like a keyboard, mouse, memory, disk, or network. From the source to the application. So is there any source to the application, then we can call it as an input stream. That is a flow of data from the source to the application. That is input stream. Whereas a flow of data from the application to the output destination. The output destination is either a screen, a printer, memory, disk, or a network. So that flow of data is output stream, that is from the application to the output destination. So be clear with this. First of all, what is a stream, what is an input stream, and what is an output stream. Okay, so then so, so in Java IO we have two basic stream types is there. One is a byte stream and other one is a character stream. So if it has a byte stream, it provides a convenient means for handling an input output of byte. So generally we are using to read or write in the means of byte, that is we are manipulate the data in the means of byte, that is a byte stream. Whereas a character stream, it provides a convenient means for handling input and output of characters. Okay, so in a byte stream class, so already we have been discussed about this. In that byte stream class we have already discussed about an output stream. Okay, so in that byte stream we have two abstract class at the top of the hierarchy. What are that abstract class in the byte stream is? One is input stream, other one is output stream. Okay, so as far as concerned with our previous objective, we already been discussed about a file output stream class. Okay, so in that file output stream class, and these are all the predefined streams in Java lang package, that is system.in and system.error. And I think these are all the some of the hierarchies which has been there in output stream class. Okay, so out of this, so we are used this file output stream in previous class, and these are all the methods, like these are all the methods which is used in output stream class. So the output stream class is used for writing the data to the what, write the data to the output destination. So the output stream is nothing but a flow of data from the application to the destination. So for that it has to perform this set of methods, like what set of method it has to perform? It has to perform a write method. So write a single byte, write a whole byte array, flush and close. So these are all the methods that we can already seen in output stream class. Yes, why to convert into bytes? Okay, so it's a very good answer. Why it has to converts into bytes? So in the mean of like generally, so bytes is nothing but it's a, you already know what is the byte. It means a string can be written to the file. Yes, because even if it has a character stream, so if it has a character stream, it has to read the characters and write the characters over there. So if it has a byte stream, because the flow of data in the means of byte, so that's what it has to converts into byte. Because so here we have used this input stream and output stream, which is comes under a byte stream, which means it has to read each and every characters or each and everything in the means of byte. Yes, it's yes, that is what we are using, that we are convert into bytes. Okay, so here that only we are using this stream class, which is comes under a byte stream. Okay, so that is what we are converted into a byte. So thank you for asking that query, Anand. So in that byte stream classes, so these are all some other classes also there. So as far as our concern, we already discussed this file output stream, which is writing data to the file. Okay, that is in our previous objective. For today's objective, we are going to deal about this particular topic, that is a file input stream. Okay, the file input stream, what it does, it reads the data from a file. Okay, so here what today's objective is, these three, that is first is a file input stream class, and the second is byte array output stream and byte array input stream. Okay, so in file input stream class, which is used from this abstract class of input stream. Okay, so already you have been known about how to create a constructor from that, because it is one of the major class in Java IO package. So you already know that how to create a constructor in this. So I think I just opened that file so that yes, I think you have been familiar with this. So initially we have to give, yes. So in our previous discussion in file output stream class, we explained that is we create a constructor by using this means, that is a file output stream followed by an object name in that. So why we are creating this constructor? So we want to uh, write in this particular thing, that is in output stream, we want to write data to the some destination, whereas in input stream we want to read the data from the desired source. Okay, so I think in that source data, where can I access my source? So for that you are creating the constructor over there. So so even that source will be there in our direct file. So even I just open that okay, so these are the some of the means of creating the constructor, like a file name followed by that is a new keyword for you can give create a constructor by using a direct file name, or you can give a path followed by a file name, or you have create any directory followed by the file name. So you can create a constructor in this means. So why I'm telling this is, so here we are using this Java file IO, in that we are using a file input stream class. So in that file input stream, we are creating the constructor. So why we are creating the constructor? Because we need to access some desired location. Okay, so we have to access some source. So we are here, we are going to do about, so we need to get a source from any of this, like a keyboard, mouse, or memory, or disk, or because we need to access some resource. Either it has a physical resource or it has to a resource which is stored under the memory. Because an input stream, what it does, so the input stream which has reads from the any of the source to the application. So it has to read from any of the source, so it needs some source to read. Okay, so for that we are creating the constructor in some desired location for reading the data. Okay, so here it has to access, so whatever the data which has been there in this file, which is been going to read through this code. So for that we are using this file input stream. So file input stream, what it does, it obtains input bytes from a file in a file system. So it is meant for reading a streams of raw bytes. So even while you are using in that file input stream, we can able to read multimedia files also, whereas in character stream we cannot read multimedia files. So that we are discussed in that particular topic. But here in our today's objective is a file input stream. So which means it has to read a stream of raw bytes. Okay, so it has to read in a stream of raw bytes. So for that reading the data, it has to access some desired location. So here in that, so I have a file in this location, so I want to access, so I want to read the data in this desired location. So for that I am using this file input stream class. Okay, so here it has to perform a read operation, because so here in input stream class, so these all the methods. So what are the methods which has been there? So in file input stream class, we have this set of methods. Okay, what are all the method? Int available, int read byte b, and int read byte b, int of int length, long skip. So these are all the methods. So out of these methods which has been there in input stream class, we are going to display some of the methods over there. Okay, so here in our first example, we explained about this first method, that is a read. Int read, it is used to read the byte of data from the input stream. So here, what is my input stream? So here my input stream is, uh, I have in this location we have a file. So I need to read from this location. Okay, so that is what, and what I want to perform. So I want to perform to read the data in that desired location. So for that I invoke the method as read, which is used to read the byte of data from this input stream. Okay, so int I, so why we are taken as int integer, because it has to read a binary data. So it has to take in as a binary data, so that it has to get the binary data which is there in zeros and ones. Okay, so that is the raw data which has been there in zeros and ones. So that we have to use in this integer int I equal to input. So this is an object which is a constructor which has been there from that desired location. I want to read the data in that location. Okay, so here I, which is not equal to -1, so which means I need to read the entire data in that file. Okay, so here I want to print the data which is being present in that text file in that character format. So for that typecasting we have to use a character over there, because it has to take an integer value as an input, and it has to print that value into the characters. So for that, I just use a character of I. Okay, then after that, it has to close for reading next byte over there. So even we are using this method called get stack trace. So the stack trace, which is used for tracing the each and every characters, because so the read method which is used to read the byte of data from the input stream, but the trace, that is the stack trace method, which is used to trace the each and every frame of the data, whether each and every byte has to be read, because as we are using this particular, we are used to read each and every data in that given file. So for that, we are using this get stack trace method, which is used to trace each and every data in the means of an array. So here it has to return an array of stack trace elements. Okay, each representing one stack frame. So the zeroth element of an array, which is assuming array's length is non-zero. So even you already know how it has to be stored. Suppose if it has to store as an array, so how it has to be, suppose if it is n values in an array, it allocates n minus 1 location. So from 0 to n minus 1 location. So you already know the meaning of an array, how location has been specified in an array. Okay, so for that only we are using that get stack trace method over there. So initially you just need to know about why we are using a file input stream. So the file input stream is one of the major class in Java file IO package, which is used to read the stream of raw bytes. Okay, so here we are accessing that specified location. So here we are accessing the resource which has been there in a particular location. So whenever we are tracking or we are getting the resource, we used to use a try with a catch block, or we can use a throws class, because we are accessing these things, that is a file handling with some resource, even the flow of data either from any of that source to the application or from the application to the source. So each and every stream of data we are accessing that, uh, like we are accessing some resources. Okay, so for each and every interfaces, that is we have to access some closable interface need to use for accessing the resource. So for that we are using either try and catch block or a throws keyword for accessing that closable interface. Okay, so for that reason we are using this try and catch block. So you already know, very much familiar about a try and catch block. Okay, so it has to use one closable interface. So for that we are using this a try and catch block. So inside that try and catch block, it has to access some resource. Okay, why? Because once if you have a data as a test out.txt in that desired location, then only you can able to perform this read method. If the data which is not there in that location, suppose, so here in local disk D I have text test out, because I want to perform a read operation over there. Okay, so suppose there is no data over there, there is no text file in my, but I want to access, like I want to read the data which has been there in a d colon test out.txt. So I want to read this particular file as my input. Okay, so now I just run this file. So here I not get any output, since it has to perform this operation. So even though I'm not getting any error also. Okay, so even it has not searched that particular file, or I'm not throwing with any of the exceptions also there. Okay, but once if a file is there, so for that I'm using this file output stream. So generally the file output stream, which is the flow of data from the application to the output, that is the application to the output destination. So it has to have a flow of data from the application to the output destination. For that we have means output stream. So in that output stream, what it performs, so once I run this code, so it prints success. I check the d colon, so here the test out.txt which has been present. Once I run this code as an output stream, the output stream means the flow of data from the application to the output environment, that is output destination. Then I will read this file, which is now previously I run this code, there is no file in that desired location, so that it will not print any data because it is not reads any data. uh, Even it reads the data, but there is no file in that, so it not prints any value in that console. But now I run this, I get this particular data which has been there, because previously there is no test out.txt which has been there. Now the test out.txt, inside this test out.txt there is the data welcome to Java is there. Okay, so it reads the value from this desired location, that is, which means it access the resource from my system, from my local system. Okay, and it reads the data from my local system while I use this particular class called file input stream. So that was use of file input stream class, which is used to reads the data from the desired location. So even that location, even you can use directly the file name, and this is what the means of creating the different forms of a constructor. Even you can use a direct file name over there, so instead of path name or a directory name, or you can use any path or a directory. So that's what, so here I given a path, that is inside the d we have that test out.txt. So I want to read the file, and I want to uh, write that particular data, that is I want to print that particular data which I read from that file. Okay, so initially it has to perform the read method. After performing the read method, it has to print. And what is the use of get stack trace? So the get stack trace method, which is used for returns an array of elements, whereas whatever the data which has been there in this desired location, it has to read the entire data. Okay, so it has to read full data which has been there in that location, in that file, then it has to print in that console. So for that we use a get stack trace method. We used to means to convert an form of array to the byte, because we are here in input stream, we are using a convenient means for handling the byte of data. Okay, so this is what the use of a file input stream class. So I think we already gone through with the description. So this is what the code. So here I just want to write a single character, and here I written directly this code, that is read all the characters. So that has to read entire characters over there. So I already told you that. So not only this is the only method which has been there in file input stream class, we have some other methods also there. Okay. So even while we are using that particular method, how it performs. So how it change in that output. Okay. So what is the changing output while we are using a different method in the same file input stream class. So for that I have some more examples. So within that, can I continue? Is that fine? Can I continue with my topic? Is that okay? Because I keep on explaining about the concepts. Is that fine? No. Why, Ankush? Is that fine? Is that fine? Can I go through with that another example in file input stream? Yes, Ankush? Okay, definitely. Examples can help. Thank you for those reply. So definitely I will go with some more example. Okay, so here I have an example. Okay. So here I used available method. So what is the use of that available method in file input stream class? See here, I'm using this available method in file input stream class. Okay, so here so what it performs, int available, it is used to return the estimated number of bytes that can be read from an input stream. Okay, so that is used to return estimated number of bytes. Okay, so how many number of bytes which has been there to read from the input stream. Okay, so here we are handling with the resource, so that we are using try and catch block over there. So here what we have to do, this is my desired location. So in that file I want to do this. Okay, so here suppose the input file contains the following text. This is the line of text inside that file. So suppose even what is there in that testout.txt. So in that we have welcome to Java. Okay, so it has to write a number of available bytes. So it has to read some bytes, like previously it has to perform this available method, that is how many number of bytes which has been there, that is total number of bytes which has been there in that file. Okay, so after this reading, that is input dot read. So input dot read, which means it has to performs the read method. So that is reading a byte. So it has to perform 3 bytes, read 3 bytes from the file. Okay, so after reading this 3 bytes, returns the number of available bytes now. So here we have to test this int available, that previously it has how many number of bytes which has been there in this testout.txt in that destination. After reading the data, how many number of remaining bytes to read. Okay, so that is there in that text file. Okay, so here we are using again get stack trace method. So get stack trace method, which is used for tracing each and every characters which is written in a desired location over there. So we already been used this get stack trace method. Okay, so now after running this code, because we already know in this location in that file, this was the data, because we already run this file with this data which has been present in that file. Now we want to know that has to returns the number of bytes available in that. So the number of available bytes in that file. Okay, so after perform a read operation over that, what are the remaining number of available bytes? So it has to perform that. Just check with this code how it works. Okay, so initially we have the available bytes at the beginning as 16. So after reading, that is after reading our 3 bytes, the remaining bytes is 13. Okay, so this is what we use int available, that is available method has to perform. Okay, so it returns the number of available bytes. So that is what the use of available method in file input stream class. So it just prints the number of available bytes in that desired location. Whereas a read method which is used to perform read the bytes. Whereas available which is used to perform returns the number of available bytes in that desired source. Okay, so here in input stream we can call it as a source, whereas in output stream we can call it as a destination, because it has to access from the source, because this file is presented in this system, so that it can access from this local system. Okay, and I explained with one more example in that input streams why we use 3 times input read, why the byte is 13. Okay, just we test it. Suppose the here it has to read 3 bytes from the file, so it has to read a byte by byte, which means so it has to read only a byte by byte. So initially we used to use read method, which is, see, the method read which is used to read a single byte in that input stream. So that is what the use of this read method. So the read method which is used to read the byte of data from the input stream. Okay, so here it has to read 3 bytes. Suppose if you are giving only okay, now I save the data, now I run this. Yes, because it has to perform only one read, that is it has to read only one byte, that which means only one character which is being there in the entire data which is present in that text file. Okay, so even we can check whether it has a 16 bytes which is been there in that file. So here welcome, that is 6 characters, so that is 6 letters in welcome, followed by a space 7, and 2 letters will be there. 7 plus 2 9, 9 plus 1 10, 10 plus Java we have 4 letters, that is 14, and here full stop is there, that is 15. So even it has to take up to what, so it has to put an array type value, so that it has to get the location from the 1 to 16 over there. So that is what it has to print, 16, after that space 2. So here that available bytes in that file is 16, and from that it has to read a byte by byte. So that is what the use of the read data, so that we are using a input read over there for 3 times reading the same byte, that is reading the bytes in that text file. Okay, so I think Okay. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 datas will be there. So I think I just misplaced. So I just misplaced one over there. So it has to take till this data so that it will print the available bytes over there. Yes, I think Tashi, it has to get till this value up to full stop only. Okay. So up to full stop, it has to check. Okay, fine. Okay, so this is what the method int available. That is a available method which is used in the input is an object of this constructor where the desired location of the file need to access. And next method is, so we already been used the method read as well as available. Now we are going to perform a skip method on this. So how it works? Okay, so the skip method in file input stream class. Okay, so in that we are use this file input stream input equal to new file input stream. We want to perform this method in this file which is stored in this desired location, this as the source. So it has to print after invokes this method. Okay, system.out.println input stream after skipping 5 bytes. So after skipping 5 bytes, it has to read from the 6th byte onwards. Okay. Yes, here we are using here. Okay. So here we are directly using input dot read byte. So it has to read the byte. But here we want to read as well as need to write that particular byte. Okay, so we want to write that particular remaining bytes which has been available in that file. Okay, so even here we are using a character which is used here in this first example. Okay, so initially it has to perform, it has to read the entire characters in that file, and it has to print each and every characters which has been there, that is each and every letters which has been there in that text file. So for printing the all characters we are using that int I, which I already been explained in that first example. So here after skip 5 bytes, the remaining bytes need to be right. For that we are using this int I, whereas in previous example we just write the remaining number of bytes. We just read the bytes. We are not writing that bytes to the output, or not, we are not printing that bytes to the output. So for uh, need to print that readed bytes to the output, so we are using this int I, because we are taken a raw data in a means of a binary zeros and ones. Okay, so after reading this, so we are getting me, that is me to Java. We have welcome to Java. So after skipping of 5 bytes, once we use a skip method, it has to perform this particular action on that. Okay, because the actual file is welcome to Java. Once we implies this method, you implements this method skip, then it has to perform this operation on that. Even we discuss deep on this in our lab class too. Now I think okay, so we have discussed